Hello and welcome to Corrective Consciousness Episode 6. I am your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
I am Lotus Prince.
And I'm Pyrojackfrost.
The gang is back together again, guys.
Yay.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Overdoing it. I'm not excited anymore.
I am excited, son.
Son,
Okay.
I am excited.
All right. So I think with this episode, I think we're going to get started with listener mail first. I always like doing listener mail the best. It gets conversation going here.
Absolutely. So yeah, I have the exact wording for this one. We have another question from a YouTube user, Fakafon, and he had asked, I have a question for the next CC, Corrective Consciousness. What are the silly things in video games that you personally consider a perk? For me, it's when a game has food in it, like Metal Gear Solid 3 or Tales of Grace. So that's the question with the asker's example.
I would say that I believe he's maybe thinking of like actual licensed food there. Is that what you think?
No. It's just silly things in video games that you think are a perk. Like when there is food in a game, that's an amusing little thing that he kind of likes. So like, what are some amusing little things in video games that you just get a kick out of?
So this is what I like, and I also like this when cartoons have this and things like that. Particularly like Simpsons and Toy Story, I think. But I love it when any game goes into an arcade and there are fake arcade machines in there.
Oh, you had mentioned not this before, but the site Hardcore Gaming 101, they actually have an entire article of just that, like finding working arcade games in other games. Now, what you just said is not necessarily working ones. Even just a shout out like an Earthbound is amusing, but there's a whole thing about that going on.
I love it even more if you can actually play the game. Like, the only one that comes to mind at the moment is Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. Has like a playable Miss Pac-Man or Junior Pac-Man machine.
That's cool.
Or Pac-Man Junior machine if you collect cartridges to play it in the arcade. And that's really cool. I always like doing that kind of stuff. I always like that kind of thing, especially like in Streets of Rage. It was pretty funny going through the
bare knuckle arcade machines.
Well, when I was a kid, I didn't know what bare knuckle was. I just knew it as Streets of Rage, and they didn't change it for the American version. So I'm just like, what's that bare knuckle game? And what's its significance?
Yeah, Streets of Rage's Japanese name, the original name, is bare knuckle. So you're kind of in this weird meta situation where you're walking by your own video game. It's it's like at the end of Golden Axe, where you all jump out of the Golden Axe machine and just run into the real world. Anybody
remember like the live action Double Dragon movie? It has like Double Dragon in the background.
I forgot that, but that's pretty cool. Well, the Simpsons has some wacky arcade games as well.
Like
and then Doom 2. Doom 3, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I was going to mention that one.
Also had the arcade machine. I think that I was having trouble thinking of things that
Turkey
I
Puncher?
thought were cool.
Yeah.
But arcade machines are good. And I think it's when they do a little bit extra with the dialogue. For instance, there was this RPG back on PS2. I forget what it was called, but like the barrels, like they all had a unique barrel.
Oh, I know what you're thinking of. It's one of the. Was this
It was an Atli Air game, maybe.
Yeah. Atelier Iris, one of those. I remember seeing a review for one of them where you investigate it and your character goes like, barrel! Like it's unnecessarily excited for such a mundane thing.
Depending on who the character was, they would have a different way of saying it. Another thing I like is, for instance, in the kind of example of this is in the new Legend of Heroes games. Like not all the treasure chests, but a lot of the treasure chests have a unique dialogue if you already open them. Like, if they're open, they'll say a little bit, like, there's nothing here, or all you could find were spiders, or stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that's great.
So to give you a reason to look in the treasure chest again, even though it's just for dialogue, or even when they take the extra effort and change dialogue with NPCs, like, after, like, all unique events. Like, a lot of times you'll go to a castle. Like, a good example is, Final Fantasy 1? Was like, Welcome to Canaria.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the guy says that every single point in the game, whether you go there. But a lot of RPGs nowadays are changing the dialogue after events, so the people in the game are living through these events with you.
Yeah, actually, Hideo Kojima games are really good at knowing what you did, and addressing it later, even in innocuous ways. Like, I remember Vice, during our Snatcher Let's Play, we had meant, like, when we went through the factory and you first encounter those little spider bots, and they hit you twice. Once that's done, there's the whole, Gillian, are you okay? And he says, yeah, I got him. They got me twice, though. And it's like, I really didn't think that they would program a number for every single time you may or may not have gotten hit, which is just really entertaining to me.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah, on the freaking Sega CD, and then originally, like, the MSX. Like, who would have thought? I actually really like in the very beginning of Snatcher, if you look at and investigate every single thing in the lobby, when you finally go up and meet the chief, he's just like, what were you doing? You're supposed to come up here. Like, it's just pretty amusing.
I also like sprite mirroring, when they actually like put in the time to make sure that you know that you're looking at a sprite's right side or its left side.
That's a good one. When they put the extra effort in, I think that's what I like the most. I think it's more the engineering, I guess you could say, of the game that I like more than the functions. Like the one that the user mentioned about the food. Like, I think that's cool if it's not annoyingly done.
Like, Metal Gear Solid 3, though, in particular, does all sorts of stupid things with the food.
Calorie mate.
Well, no, not even that. There's just all sorts of just like descriptions of the plant life and the animal life, and then Snake's like, okay, great, can I eat it? It's just like, why is that the only thing you ever care about? And they just keep having a back and forth with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think any time when I see that a special attention to detail was done, like in earlier games, this isn't much of a problem nowadays, but or in earlier games when you used to buy new armor sets and things like that, your character didn't used to change.
It was just for the menu purposes. Like, I would have loved to have seen a change in Resonance of Fate, where you have your stupid as hell guns with like 4 scopes and like 3 magazines, because like a magazine adds clip capacity, a scope adds accuracy. Like, if I put 3 scopes on, I'll add even more accuracy, but your gun would look so freaking dumb, and it would just be hilarious if you just walked around with those in the actual world.
Yeah, nowadays it's a real integral part of how you play a game, and also people pay money for how they look in a game.
Yeah.
So I think it's less of an issue now, but for older games, even 5 or 6 years ago on back, if a game put in special effort to change your character's clothing when you bought a new armor set, I was really happy. I really thought that was a cool thing. Though, here's something that still isn't resolved, and I kind of hate that this happens. You find an armor set that you really like the way it looks, but it's horribly underpowered compared to
well, actually,
like Monster Hunter stuffs like that.
But I was just gonna mention Monster Hunter. Like, you should particularly love it because like every armor set looks amazing.
Not a lot of games, but there are several games who took that and made it better. In terms of like Diablo 3 and World of Warcraft have it. So there's, I forget what the system's called. But when you get an armor set, you unlock that set, and then if you have an armor that you like, but you don't like how it looks, you can pay a little extra gold or something to give that good armor stat-wise the looks of the armor that you like.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
So if you really liked even the basic set, you could just go around with this badass, like, basic leather armor or something.
Yep.
That's cool. Like, the closest I can think of in a game that I've played where that works is maybe Parasite Eve, because you can take the best gun and armor you have, or just whatever the ones of choice are, and put a name on them, and then carry them over to New Game Plus, so you can just have your particular named gun that you like, that you've been putting all of your perks into, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we really touched on that. I think any time when they make a special effort on a small detail, and Japanese games in particular are really good at it. It's not to say that all Western games don't do that kind of thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Japanese games tend to have those little touches a lot more often, and that's part of the reason why I think a lot of people love Japanese games is because of that attention to detail. In particular, other than we've been accustomed to this style since the mid '80s, but I think that's a big part of it, and I think that food thing is also part of it. They're putting in things that they think they would like to eat probably while they're working or whatever.
Well, the Tales of games, you can make all sorts of crazy stuff with the ingredients you have, so it can get entertaining. And in fact, Odin Sphere has this whole cooking system with a recipe book and everything like that. So there's that dimension.
Yeah,
too.
And that's cool, and the way that the Tales games do it is cool. But I just have to say that there's a fine line between a cool feature and an annoying feature. Like, you could have food in your games. Like, the Tales games do it well, where it's like, I actually went out of my way to look for the recipes for those, just to have them. I never actually cooked anything, to be honest with you. But it was just fun finding the guide to learn all those recipes. But if they made it so, like, your guys got hungry and got tired...
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, that can get frustrating.
Taking a cool feature and making it just annoying, an annoying requirement that is kind of unnecessary.
Yeah,
I will say this: Metal Gear Solid 3 did that, but food was so abundant that it wasn't really an issue. Like, you didn't have to go, oh god, I gotta stop playing the game and go looking for food now. Like, it was more of just like, it was more of a mechanic than a hindrance, I think, for Metal Gear Solid 3.
I initially was intimidated by that in Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm not gonna lie. When the game first came out, I took it as there was a lot of changes with 3, especially with they took away the radar, for instance.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Like, you get so accustomed to it.
That's how you play the game. That's how you played the first 2 games.
Yeah.
You really needed to see those cones, unless you were like a master player and played it without it. But I was never like that, and this game forced you to actually use your first-person view a lot.
It's the 70s. You didn't have this crazy future technology.
Well, that's never stopped anything
except
from happening
for the easy gun,
those.
Obviously.
Well, no, I mean you had e-cigs in Metal Gear Solid 5, which is the sequel to 3.
Oh yeah,
so,
and
I
mean,
think come on.
I think you had the what was it? No, the iPod was 4, but with 5...
there's a Walkman in Metal Gear Solid 5, but the Walkman was 10 years off,
that's funny.
Yeah, like it's there, but it's it shouldn't be there.
Sure.
That kind of thing. But yeah, and McDonald Miller invents McDonald's hamburgers, which is hilarious.
The best. By the way, to answer the original question, I think one of the things I particularly like, it doesn't happen often, and I'm kind of glad it doesn't, because it maintains the novelty for not happening every single time, so I don't come to expect it, is when games sometimes give, subtle or not subtle, depending on how they handle it, nods to predecessors in the series. Like one of the last areas of System Shock 2, for example, is like the first area of System Shock 1. Like, they kind of show you that place again, and it has the old graphics, except you could walk around and look around in it with the new graphics. This isn't the same thing, but it's kind of like the original Doom mod for Doom 3. It's like, did you ever wonder what this looked like with these graphics? Like in Resident Evil 2 Extreme Battle Mode, you could play as Chris Redfield, but he's been sort of graphically updated from Resident Evil 1 Chris, and it's just weird to see that kind of thing going on. Or if you play like a third-person area, which is normally in first person, you could experience the thing in a whole different way. It's just this weird new take on things you thought you knew. Like
Doom 16 is like that.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah, they have the little old retro areas. I also
there's also one more thing. Since somebody brought it up, there is turkey punchers in that game, like hidden off in a corner.
Yeah, it's the old arcade game. Yeah, and in Resurrection of Evil has like Arkanoid.
Yeah, but no, you could play turkey puncher in Doom 16.
Oh, that's funny.
In addition to Doom 3, but there's also another game that you could play that's like a match 3 game, which and that's one of the perks or one of the achievements that you need to get is playing that match 3 game.
Yeah, and System Shock 2 has a little sort of not Game Boy that you can carry around. You could play Tic-Tac-Toe, Minesweeper, Spy Hunter, and like Ultima, but they're all called very different things.
Even Commander Keen had Paddle War in it, which is like a one-player version of Pong.
Oh, and this will take us back. We played this a long time ago, but we dabbled with a little bit of Spooky's House of Jump Scares, and there's an arcade game where you can just knife people as you run by, or there's a Pac-Man game where you're the ghost and you just go through walls and instantly catch Pac-Man, and it's like it takes like 3 seconds. And when you type in your name for the high score, it just, no matter what you type, it just overrides it with Spooky's name. So it's like, thanks. Now these aren't arcade games, but games that you could play within games. Shenmue, you could play Space Harrier on your Sega Saturn.
Well, you can also play the arcade cabinet too.
Oh, you can actually go to the arcade. That's right. I forgot about that. You could also play that QuickTime event game at the arcade, which is kind of funny. It's nothing but QuickTime like button presses.
Yeah, it's just him just
do it for as long as you can, which is kind of funny by itself because it's like, what is this? And there was one, I know there was one other thing where you like sit down at your TV and you play a game. Oh, well, No More Heroes 2, you could play 1 and 2. No, just 2, because you could play it whenever you wanted. You could play that
that Moe shooter
5 Glastonbury, that space bizarre Jelly 5, like those cutesy girls like shooter game where you're going up against like a mech by the end of it.
Moe.
So there's all that going on. So those are also quite entertaining. And then there's like Deus Ex Human Revolution, regarding calling back to older games, where you'll find like emails from Morgan Everett and Beth Duclair, and you're like, oh, I know those names. Like little nods like that are just entertaining to me. Even Doom 2, the secret level, one of the secret levels, the last one, had a couple Commander Keen dolls you had to kill to end the level, and you hear it do that old style 8-bit like when they die, which is kind of funny. So I kind of am amused by little nods like that. And one other nod that really cracked me up, I haven't played any Assassin's Creed game, but I saw a clip of one of them. I think it's the second one because you're in Italy, but there's this really weird moment where there's this big mustachioed relative of yours, and he's like, don't you remember me? It's me, Mario. And it's like, wow. And like, Assassin's Creed, for the record, was released on the Xbox 360 and PS3, so it's like, what? Like, it's the most outrageous kind of nod. I just think that's really entertaining.
For sure. Do you guys have anything else to add to that one?
No, not really.
Okay, so I definitely want to keep encouraging you guys to keep asking us questions, because I love doing this. So, and we will answer it. So please go ahead and do it. We want to have a really nice queue of these lined up so we could talk about them. And I think they're interesting topics. That's one I wouldn't have thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you for that question.
Then let's move on to what we played this week.
Oh boy, we got a story for you.
So Lotus and I played a bunch of games yesterday.
But each stupider than the last. Well, no, the last one was stupid.
But the first thing I want to talk about is the game that I was playing on my own, which was the AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake that was released a couple weeks ago, or a week ago at this point. So first of all, I need to eat my words.
Yeah.
I need to eat my words. It was taken down right away next day.
Yeah, Nintendo
by Nintendo.
As much as it sucks from a corporate standpoint, Nintendo should have taken it down, as depressing as that is.
The funny thing is too that just this past week also people made Pokemon Uranium, and that got taken down like a day or two after too.
It had millions of downloads, apparently.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing, like, yes, it is in Nintendo's best interest to take it down, but on the same sense, it's never going to be down now, because since someone's downloaded it, they can keep uploading it.
Yep.
Yeah, and especially when it's a quality project, they'll keep it alive.
Yeah,
for sure. And both of these, from all accounts, are great projects.
We haven't actually seen, we haven't actually tried Uranium, but I watched Vice play a little bit of Metroid 2, the fan remake, and damn, that game looks good.
So AM2R is a fantastic remake. It's a quality game that is up there with Nintendo's own quality. I actually would suggest it to anybody who has any interest in playing Metroid 2. Just like Metroid 1, just play Zero Mission, just play this one. So there are a lot of changes. It's not just a simple remake. It's not just, it with color and, a better field of view. There are additional powers from the Metroid franchise in it.
Yeah, super missiles.
There are super missiles and power bombs from Super Metroid that didn't come into play yet.
This isn't a remake, right?
It is, but it's been very much enhanced. Like it's like Resident Evil remake. Like, it's the same but different.
Even though they've added things from Super Metroid, they kind of adjusted the game to account for that.
The basic things you have to do to get through the game are the same, but there are areas that you need super missiles to enter. Like, they might have changed up how you would enter a place. There's a map now. You can climb ledges, like you can sort of ledge grab, which was never a thing before.
So I'll address what I think Pyro means here.
Mm-hmm.
The game is totally built around the new mechanics. It's not just they gave you these mechanics and they don't fit there.
Okay.
Like the game is designed in a way in which, from the ground up, these abilities were meant for you to have some time in the game. And so it's not like you have a super missile that can obliterate, a bad guy that would normally never encounter one. It's not like that.
Okay.
And in fact, the game has diagonal aiming, which in the original version of the game didn't exist. You can only shoot up and left and right. So all the fighting takes that into account.
Oh, that's really neat then, that they took that much time and effort.
There's a lot. By the way, also new soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So if this isn't even a criticism, it's more like a preference thing. But the music is fantastic. It's great. I just kind of miss the Metroid 2 original soundtrack because it's a very unusual and iconic soundtrack. It sounded really great on the Game Boy, and it's a very odd one. But it fits the game, and it fits the mood. So the music that they have in the game is really, really great, but it's not as jarring in terms of how weird it is. It's definitely atmospheric and captures the mood of whatever you're doing. But I kind of miss that original soundtrack. That's just a preference thing. It's not a criticism because everything about the game is really good. It's a little weird. Samus is always running, which is a little odd. So like, the game is really quick and snappy, and I had to get used to that. It's kind of like, I think Zero Mission is like that. But I had to get used to that. But other than that, there's just so much they added. They added a lot of, they added lore to the game.
That's super cool.
It does scanning, and when you enter in certain areas, there's more of a cohesive reason as to why the area is like that. Like, it used to be a power plant that the Chozos had, or there's just some really cool stuff. Like, you could power certain things. You can affect the landscape in certain ways. Like, at one point there is this whole area that's submerged in water, but then you go into a turbine and you crack it, and it lowers all the water. There's just a lot of really cool stuff going on in the game, and it wasn't like that in the Game Boy game. It just wasn't like that. It wasn't that complicated. The major thing that is the same is the concept of the committing genocide on these Metroids. The whole concept of Metroid 2 was that you're supposed to look around for these all these Metroids and kill them all, because you don't want the space pirates to get them so they can do tests on them and stuff. So the whole point of the game is you're supposed to go around and find them, and that's how you progress. Well, this game takes that concept but runs with it and modernizes it and makes it a much better game. It's a much better game in general. suggest at this point playing the Game Boy original. It's just this one's so much better. It's kind of like it's kind of like Resident Evil Remake. If I was gonna suggest somebody play the original Resident Evil at this point, unless you're a super fan like Lotus or myself, just play Remake. It's so good.
Yeah, I would argue that each version has its own thing to offer, but Remake is realistically the better game.
Well, when you say that that Remake is what you should start with, though?
That depends on what you're trying to do. If you just want to play Resident Evil, then you can go ahead and go with Remake. But I'm one of those people who plays games in the order that they were released. So personally, I would play the original Resident Evil first so I could see what Remake did with it.
Okay, I could see that.
There's little things, like you could do 180-degree turns, which weren't introduced until Resident Evil 3. And so when you go back and play Resident Evil 1, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Some people don't have time to play all those games, though.
yeah, I mean,
That's true.
If you just want to get the story down, Remake, it's really where it's at. It looks gorgeous, it sounds gorgeous, it has more enemies, more bosses, full-on cutscenes instead of just in-game characters standing there. And you could skip the cutscenes if you want to. It's just overall a superior product.
Now, so I definitely recommend tracking this game down. It's a little tough now, but you could find it. Some people have hosted it. Just play it. It's
what Pyro said.
Game.
Once it goes up, it's up. Even if they take down the torrents, 10 more people are going to put up their own.
I definitely recommend it because it is an exceptional fan remake. In fact, I would love one day when I finally get our website up and running to do a few different articles on really great fan remakes because there are definitely others out there.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before, but Streets of Rage
remake is up there as one of the best remakes I've ever played. It's everything you could ever want in a remake and more. And this one definitely gets the gold star. AM2R is a fantastic game. I'm almost done with it. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the game, I would say, and it has some extra moments in it that were just awesome. If I guess this isn't really a spoiler because it's awesome, but it's not a story spoiler or anything. There's this part of the game where you have to, just like in some of the other classic Metroid games, you have to escape something that's about to blow up. Metroid 2 never had that because you basically just killed the queen and then the game ends.
Yeah.
Well, this game adds, you go into a power plant and then you, in order to escape, you have to set off a power bomb, and the power bomb overloads the generator that's in there, and you have to escape this thing. And boy, they designed it specifically to make you nervous because you have to bomb all these specific spots in order to progress. And it the designer was clearly no, I want you to sweat during this because you're barely going to get out, and you go through this blast door and Samus barely gets out. She gets blown. She gets when you get through the doors, the blast goes off, and Samus has everything but 9 health left.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's awesome, and she's sitting there on the ground ugh, ow, this sucked.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So yeah, there's a ton of attention to detail. Just I was saying earlier, it has a non-mirrored sprite. Yeah,
that's cool.
I pointed that out to you yesterday, Lotus.
Yeah, when you turn around, you could see her non-cannon hands gripping the cannon for aim when you turn around, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so we after that we together we played 3 games in particular. We started off playing Crazy Power Disc Perfect because we wanted to get some footage for you guys, but it didn't. We ended up losing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. For those of you with Windows 10, our footage was fine. Our voice recording was not. There's a program called Voice Recorder. It's really basic. You press the record button and it records. You press stop, it stops. It's really straight. It's Like, it's literally a screen with a button on it. Like, you cannot mess this up. And we didn't. But what we didn't realize is that minimizing the program pauses the recording, and there's no indication of this. So we did our whole thing, and then we're like, okay, let's stop the recording. And we go up, and it's 3 seconds long. So all you really hear is us going, okay, yeah, it's recording, and then it minimized, and then that's it. And we're like, God damn it. So we're going to have to do this again at another time. But the good news is, it's like Windjammers. We've mentioned this on a previous podcast. It's just a fun game you play with your friends. It's not like we lost progress on some overgoing story or something, but it's still irritating.
And you play match after match after match, and it's still fun.
Yeah, so every match is like 30 seconds long. We're not missing much, but it still sucks to lose that. Yeah.
Also, one thing. So the English-speaking internet doesn't know much about this game. We've said that it's pretty hard to find this game, and it still is. Every once in a while, I find a link to it, and it's dead. I have an actual physical copy of it, so I'm not worried about that. It's just like I kind of want to see if other people can have access to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But every bit of footage that I've seen from fans has had the 9th character grayed out, and that it's a character in the middle, and nobody's ever been able to really, to my knowledge, find out how to unlock that character. And I figured out how to do it last night after you left.
Oh, really? So,
awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, super
cool. So if anybody's listening and gets a hold of this game, so Crazy Powered is Perfect in the install file installs another .exe file. If you open that, it's a mini game in there. It's like a combination between Every Extend Extra. I don't know if you guys played that for the PSP back in the day, or its sequel, Every Extend Extra Extreme on the 360. Did you guys play that?
Nope, I don't have either of those
No, I
systems.
did not.
Okay, so it was actually, the original game was just called Every Extend, and it was a fan game. It was a doujin game. It's basically a reverse shooter. You are this little star thing, and you explode, and you're trying to cause chain reactions depending on where all the enemies are located. They explode and cause the other enemies to explode.
Yeah, it's very much like that little mini game you could play on the Game Boy in Super Mario RPG. You don't explode yourself unless you die, but you shoot things, and they shoot out little stars, and they hit things which also shoot out little stars, and you just go for point multipliers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that mixed with Buster Brothers. I don't know if you guys have ever played Buster Brothers.
Definitely played that.
Okay, so you're this little guy at the bottom of the screen shooting up at bubbles to pop them. And you gotta avoid the bubbles because they kill you. So it's a Capcom game from back in the day. So this game is a combination of that. You have to shoot things in the air, and those things explode and cause their own chain reactions. And so I actually found the creators, the creator of Crazy Power Disc's original website, which is in Japanese. I did some sleuthing, and it's really hard to find because I think it's defunct. And it's also a GeoCities website.
Nice.
And he has some other games on there too that I want to download, but that's neither here nor there. But I did a Google Translate on the page where it had profiles for all the characters, and the missing character actually in his profile tells you what to do in order to unlock him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is how I would have never figured this out. Never, because you would think, oh, maybe I have to beat the game with every single character in arcade mode or something like that. That makes sense, right? Or beat it on every difficulty or something like that. That makes the most sense. Like, not going into a completely different program and unlocking something. So what you have to do is you have to get over 1 million points. So yeah, you have to get 1 million points in this mini game, and you have to figure out how it works. And what you can do is you can speed up and slow down time in the game to kind of speed up the enemies. And actually, if you keep speeding it up, it actually is way better because you can get more enemies on the screen.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so even though it's more chaotic, it's actually better to get a ton of enemies on the screen and go at it, and have them all attack, blow up on each other. So once I figured that out, and it was a little tough because I don't know if you remember, Lotus, but this game doesn't accept D-pad input. It only accepts the
it's analog stick.
Analog stick. Well, it's the same in that game, and I didn't know why the pieces were slowing down and speeding up. It's because up and down speed up the speeds up the enemies and slows down the enemies when you press down.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's an analog stick, I was going left and right and barely touching up, and it was so that's what was happening, and you only could do it so much. You have a bar for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I once I figured out how the game worked, I actually was able to get 1,000,000 points, and I unlocked the character.
Nice.
So,
yeah, we gotta try that out.
We
gotta show that off later.
What's that?
Is the character that you spent that much time working on getting any good?
So he is broken as shit.
He's the final boss in the arcade mode.
Yeah. He drops mines as a special move on the other player's court.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and that's and no one has anything like that in the game. Like, in Crazy Power Disc Perfect, 100% of the offensive special moves are throwing the disc really fast, or in crazy patterns, or smashing it into the net so it barely falls over and you can't catch it in time, or making the disc invisible, but you don't manipulate the field itself.
Yeah, you don't put down hazards. You don't dig holes or anything, which would be kind of cool. But there's also no way to avoid the mines. And he could put as many as he wants as long as he has the bar for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
So you have this court full of mines. You're gonna have to hit them strategically while he's doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you can get back up again. It's pretty funny, but I was glad I was able to do it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And after we did some Crazy Power Disc Perfect, we were going to watch a movie, but then we realized that you had a game of PT running in the background, so we're like, all right, let's do a little PT. So you eventually got through the normal end. We didn't see the Silent Hills teased with Norman Reedus or whatever, but we got through the basic game, and it's certainly spooky.
Oh god, I don't know if you remember this, Pyro, when we played the original Silent Hill way back in the day.
I do.
And we were freaked the hell out when the game originally came out, back in high school. And even together in the room with each other, we were like, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, the game does a really good job of there being absolutely nothing happening. And that's what's scary, because you're just waiting for something to happen, and the longer you wait, the more agonizing it gets, because there's got to be something scary sometime soon, so, you kind of scare yourself, and when something does happen, it's it is scary, but it's almost a relief, because it's well, there it is. Now I might have a little more downtime if I'm lucky.
Yeah, I watched someone play through PT, and it's a lot different, because there were, 10 other people in the room with me, so it wasn't as scary. But I could see it being really, really freaky.
Oh, it's awful when you're by yourself.
Stuff like that.
And also, a lot of what happens in this game, is getting you off kilter on what your expectations will be, and it's really good at it. Because you go through this one room with only one side room over and over and over again. So you know what it looks like. You know what it's supposed to look like. And there's always one little change, and that one little change, you don't know what it's going to be. And probably the part that scared me the most was I was walking, and there was a window that fell from the second floor.
Yeah, which you never go on to. So, whatever happens on the second floor happens on the second floor, I guess. Yeah,
and that scared the crap out of me because it was really loud. But then the next time around, you go up, you look around, and you look up there on the banister, and there's just some shadowy figure, and you're just like you could barely see him or her or whatever. I don't think it was Lisa. I think it was something else. And it just because it was obscured and I could barely see it, I was that much more scared.
Yeah, Neverending Nightmares had something like that, where there's this one area with a curtain behind it, or maybe it was in a closet or something, and you see, like, the game's all about light and shadows, and there's this one shadowy figure that definitely looks like some kind of adult human just standing there, and, like, as you approach, like, you have to go past it to leave, so you're just kind of like, now, in that case, as you approach it, it just fades out to nothing, but you don't know that going in, so it's just like, you have to go toward it, which is just a terrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got through all of that except for the teaser ending because we couldn't get it to trigger right.
Yeah, and by the way,
reason.
we looked up like every freaking fact. We were probably just making some stupid mistake, but like every single fact we looked at was, there were some slight differences, but we just couldn't get the thing to trigger. So whatever, we effectively beat it. I don't care. After that, though, we played one of the more cringeworthy games I've ever played, which was Galgun Double Piece.
You played it?
Yeah, we actually tried playing it. It's a relatively fun on-rail shooter, if slow, but wow, like
it's a cringeworthy game.
That is a game that knows its audience. Like there's like a button you could press to put up like a safe for work screen, except it's like a safe for your mom screen if she walks by, so she doesn't realize like you're playing freaking Galgun, which I think is hilarious.
Well, she should be able to tell by the pants around your ankles, but
yeah, great, sure. Maybe if I were like 13 or 14, but now it's like I get jailed for saying something like that. Yeah.
But you know, like it's such a cringeworthy game. Like it's
the thing is though, the game knows that it's cringe and kind of like fully embraces it. Like there are like compromising positions where like, you know, level 1 is cringe. Level 2, you're still feeling the cringe, but once like you really keep playing, it kind of like transcends how cringeworthy it is, and it just becomes funny. It's like you've got to be like,
so
it reaches a you can't be serious kind of level where it's like, all right, I'm kind of through cringing.
Yeah, you know, you were really playing it to beat it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I was actually...
Not like that. No pun intended.
But for real, though, I was actually playing it to, like, get through the levels. Because it's just like, all right, let's see what happens.
And it was really funny. You're just pressing X to get through the yammering in between each stage. And
there's so much
I'm
of
like,
it, though.
Lotus, the story!
But like, for real, though, there's more text than, like, a game like that has any business having, and I'm only at your house for so long, so like, how the hell long are we gonna do this?
I need to know the story of Galgun Double Piece.
Yeah, like if I were to let's play the game and read the story, like, it would be like 30-40 minutes for like the first level, and the first level's probably like 10 minutes long. It's just like,
don't worry, it's not important.
I'm sure it isn't.
So yeah, that's just basically I would only ever play that game to
like with friends,
because it's funny as hell. Like it's like playing Choaniki or something, you know.
Choaniki, that game is amazing.
Though I still haven't cleaned my screen yet.
Vice got the limited edition of the game, which comes with...
It says my body is ready on the back.
Yeah, the limited edition of the game comes with swag, like a poster and like a soundtrack and an art book, but it also comes with... It's so stupid. Like, the game knows what it's doing. It comes with a screen cleaner that's in the shape of panties, which means it comes with panties. Like, you're not fooling me, Galgun. But it's hilarious, because the box to hold all this stuff is freaking huge, but that's because... it's the height of the poster, so there's like 65% of the box is just like empty space, and it's really kind of a waste, but it's kind of funny for that reason.
Yeah, it's a gigantic box with almost nothing in it.
Yeah, it's like like if they didn't include the poster, then they could have cut off like the top 2/3 of the box. It's ridiculous.
It's really funny. I don't really recommend it to many people. Yeah, but if you want to have something goofy in your house,
that's the thing. Like, even for a rail shooter, at some point, I had mentioned in some previous podcasts, I'd like to do a bunch of rail shooter games. Like, Galgun's kind of mediocre as a rail shooter. Like, even for what it is, it's more like the humor you get from playing such a cringeworthy game. As a rail shooter, it's kind of mediocre, to be honest.
It'd be something if it were like a really good example.
Yeah, it's really good,
it's
but look at
not.
how stupid it is. But like, nah, you kind of buy it for the stupidity, and that's about it.
No, go and play one of the
play Time Crisis, yeah.
games. Come on.
Speaking of which, I would love to let's play Time Crisis.
Oh yeah,
Time
we
Crisis.
should do that.
I've played up to 3. Oh my god, is 3 amazing?
I played 5 in Dave & Buster's like
so did I,
a
actually.
few months ago. That one's even crazier because there are 2 cover
perspectives.
panels.
2 pedals.
I played that with Vice back when it was in its early stages, so you only had like half the game. I don't know if it finished or what, but we played.
No, they added the second half to it.
They did. Yes, we played the first half, and it was like, oh, cool, I guess. So like,
And actually, the crazy part of that game, spoilers, but it's Time Crisis. Who cares?
Yeah.
Mad Dog
Wild
is in
Dog's
it,
back.
or Wild Dog's in it like usual, but he's actually not the final boss. The final boss is one of the main characters from 1 or 2.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think Wild Dog has.
It's from 2.
I don't think Wild Dog has ever been the final boss, even in 1. I don't think Wild Dog has always been.
He's just a recurring.
He's always been the second to last boss
character.
Also, Wild Dog's partner,
A Wild Fang.
Wild Fang, is in 5.
That makes me happy. He was like my favorite part of 3.
And he has a robotic leg.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome! Because I
Yeah.
remember he would always do the stupidest, like he would roundhouse kick like forklifts at you, and it's just like, oh my god, it's ridiculous. Like he's just kicking everything. It's like,
And there's
get him
there's
away
zombies
from
in
me.
that game too,
What?
for no reason.
Nice. That's one thing I like
amazing.
about Time Crisis is it really is a good game, but the games get progressively stupider in terms of plot and like
Yeah,
it knows it.
it's-
And
it
your
knows
main
what it's
character
doing.
1 and 2.
and your
Oh,
main,
they get douchier and
your main
douchier.
characters get douchier with each game.
1
like,
and 2 were kind of serious. 3 was a little bit
Yeah.
jokey. Then 4 is like, I knew that they
4 is
didn't-
Nanomachine's son.
Not only that, but I remember when I beat 4, the very end of 4, the final boss like jumps up or climbs up a ladder that's pretty high up, and he like either destroys the ladder or whatever. So all of the other soldiers who work with you form a human pile that you climb up to get through that door.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
So like they
I-
know that it's stupid, but
That
they
is-
just run
that
with
is
it.
fantastic.
I also love the spin-offs too. I like Crisis Zone and also
Yeah, I still need to play that and Project Titan.
Project Titan. That's a good one, and also the
Rising
other
Storm.
one, Rising Storm. Yeah, Rising Storm's great. It's
Mm-hmm.
it really has nothing much to do with Time Crisis other than it plays like it.
Sure.
But it's a good game. I enjoyed it a lot.
And I like to play the other games that kind of are in the same vein, like Dreadstorm Pirates.
Oh,
That's
Dreadstorm
pretty
Pirates
good,
is great.
too.
Yeah. And I like the. You can't really Let's Play this because it's arcade only, but I like the Let's Go Jungle and
The
Island
Let's
games.
Go Vacation or like Island, yeah.
That's kind of like
Yeah.
the Dreadstorm Pirates in a way, but a little bit more
They
silly and about
And well,
friendship and
same
love.
thing. I would also like to play that like D4, that like fourth dimensional game we played at Dave & Buster's. Where
Oh, the one
that
you got
horror-
spooked by?
Yeah, I made it through the first level. And I'm like, I've had enough. Too spooky for me. That game's nuts, man. You sit in like an enclosed capsule on this big chair. There's like air currents that blow onto you, like so you could feel in the back of your neck when you're like crawling underground and stuff.
You
can
also
feel-
have 3D glasses.
yeah, 3D
on, too.
glasses. The sound is everywhere. It's genuinely intimidating.
It's also really loud too.
That was kind of part of what really threw me. It's just like it's getting into my head because it's literally getting into my head.
Yeah, that one's a staple in most Dave & Buster's as well.
That game is
there-
super creepy. I would love to see that uploaded to some kind of playable form on the PC.
I'm sure most arcade systems are PC
Yeah.
based now.
Or even get a PSN release. Like House of the Dead 4 got a PSN release on PS3, for example.
That was miraculous. I can't
Yeah.
believe that actually happened. Because like that game was out for such a long time, and then it finally got a PSN release like out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, good thing, because there's no other way to play it, except for the
Yeah.
actual arcade machine.
For sure. And 4 is a lot better than 3. 3's my least favorite of the House of the Dead games.
I've only played 1 and 2. I mean, Typing of the Dead, I can't even tell you how many times I played through that. Oh, well, I guess I've also played Overkill, but again, Typing.
Well, 3 has shotguns. The first 2 games have pistols. The second game has shotgun, or the third game has shotguns. And shotguns are kind of cool to begin with, but for that game, I didn't like the way that the characters were designed. It just wasn't as fun.
Okay.
And then the fourth game is like a lot brighter. It's like has this like neon glow to it, and it's really cool.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
You also have like Uzis in that game. So
yeah, it reminds me of Time Crisis. Like, first you just play the game. In 2, I think you get sub weapons. In 3, I think you get sub weapons that you could toggle from and additional types. And they just keep adding features. Like 5 had that perspective change thing. 4 had like free roam, I think it was. You could just move.
No, 4 has you could go to these like points where you need to watch 3 different screens, like in Galgun.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, and then
like in Police Knots, that one part.
yeah, you have to watch 3 different screens and kill the bad guys.
That's
and
clever.
Then 5 actually has you switching between two.
Yeah, that
two
was
cover.
5 really made good use of that, where you're just like run behind the enemy to hit the weak point because it's not turning around. That was really clever. I like that a lot.
5 is a lot better than 4. 4 is actually probably the weakest Time
That's
Crisis,
what I've
if I had to
heard.
say. So, take that how you want to, but that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So those are the games you played, and I got in with you for those other 3. The last game I played, I finally beat JoJo's Bizarre Adventure: Eyes of Heaven last night, and I'm gonna record one more session after that just to get little extra stuff, like little side missions and dual heat actions and stuff. But that game was really fun, and I like the way it handled timeline issues. Like there were a lot of nods to the canon story, but the game's all about deviating from the main story, so it's kind of seeing where you go once this thing happens. So you get a lot of weird moments and interesting ways that the timeline is affected within the context of the game itself. And the big bad of the game is like an entirely new character design. It's really cool, so it's just fun to see all sorts of nods. And as was the case with All-Star Battle for the PS3, the game is fan servicey as hell, so there's all sorts of like JoJo nods if you're into that kind of thing. So I definitely enjoyed myself, and I'm glad that I played it.
Nice.
I mean, I'll be, like I've already said, I'm gonna let's play it, so I'm gonna try to get that up relatively soon. I have a lot to edit, but when I'm more prepared, I'm gonna start putting that up, even alongside Danganronpa, because I want to get this online as quickly as possible.
Cool. Yeah. So Pyro, what did you did you get a chance to play anything while you were around this week?
Yeah, I actually started playing Rhythm Heaven what is it called? Megamix?
Oh, yeah, the one on 3DS.
Yeah, I love the Rhythm Heaven games. I haven't beaten it yet, even though it's really not long. But those games are always so fun. I mean, not all of the songs are fun to play, but even so, the whole rhythm. I love rhythm games, so that game really is worth it if you like rhythm games. I've continued playing. Obviously, Tokyo Mirage is going to be a while, so I'm probably never going to mention that I'm playing it again, because that just, you can assume that I'm playing that until I say I start another
Yeah,
RPG.
I know that feeling.
But other than that, I didn't really get a lot of chance to play games because I was at Otakon.
Yeah, hooray!
This weekend. It was actually my first time going without the two of you in a while. But
I actually didn't go last year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a little bittersweet because this is the last year they're in Baltimore. They're moving to DC next year. And it went by really fast. Like it's not like it was amazing or boring, but it just, honestly, it felt like just yesterday when when we were leaving.
Yeah.
So it
It was
really
today.
It was really fun though. But usual stuff. I went to a few panels for. I went to a panel for Gundam and.
Nice.
Went to the dealer's room, the artist alley, the game room.
Yeah, my favorite parts of Otakon are the dealer's room and the game room, I think.
Yeah, which is why we enjoy MagFest more than
Otakon. The dealer's room is really the only thing I like going to at Otakon anymore, and I'm having less and less to buy because the anime that I like tends to be the stuff that I really liked in high school.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the same with everybody. Like you just get it's intended for teenagers anyway. So, but every once in a while there's an anime that comes around that I still really love, but it's less frequent. And I also think the style of anime changed greatly. For a long time, it had a really heavy moe thing going on.
I'm glad that's kind of gone
it's
out.
over.
It's starting to fade out.
It's there. You know, you can find stuff that will scratch your itch for that, but it's not dominated like it was. So it's kind of like back in high school where, like, I like hip-hop and rap and stuff, but I don't like just hip-hop and rap.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, back in high school, it was just, like, all hip-hop and rap, and that was it. So, like, especially when Eminem was popular. So, it was the same kind of thing. It's just, like, there was just this trend that kept me out of it because I just... It was overpowering. So,
yeah, but I agree, though, the best thing about Otakon is the dealer's room. I bought a few Gundam things, but other than that, I mean, it's a great location, and there were fun things to do. Like, obviously, I kept myself busy.
Yeah,
but
it's
a lot of
not hard
it,
to
too,
keep
is
yourself
just
busy.
playing board games even with my friends. So, with the friends that I
Sure.
went. So, it's not like I was there a lot of the time to see what they have. Although, the best thing, I was actually surprised. I actually went to the concert this year, one of the concerts, the Saturday one, because it was, I know this name isn't going to mean anything to you, but I'll explain afterwards, but Lotus Juice was there, and it's funny, it's not Lotus Prince, Lotus Juice, but
okay.
Lotus Juice is one of the people who does the music for Persona 3 and 4. So I was
wow.
in heaven.
Yeah, you must have been really into that.
So
that's
was
really
pretty
cool.
Awesome.
I liked that I got a chance to see Yuzo Koshiro there 2 years ago when we went. Well, that was actually the MagFest. Yeah, that was MagFest.
Yeah, but... like the people that I would see at Otakon would be particular voice actors or things like that, and that I think I only actually did that once. Yeah.
Pyro,
did you play anything in the console room? Usually they have some really good stuff in there.
I actually didn't get that much of a chance because when I went, I looked around, I saw the Tokyo Attack section.
Okay.
And I wanted to play games, but the one game that I wanted to play, I don't know if you remember this from MagFest last year, but there was this one game called, what was it called? Like, I forget what it's called, but you ride around in mechs. And you can if you have a Konami card, you can save your data. But at MagFest, I played that game for like 4 hours straight. Like I went to the arcade room and I was playing that for 4 hours straight almost. And then
that was a cool game.
And I had to leave, and I didn't have a Konami card to save my progress. When I walked by it this weekend, I'm like, I really don't want to start over again, so I'm not going to play this again. Yeah. But really, all I went down to the game room this year was to play some board games. So I didn't really get a chance to try out any of the games there. Although there were a few that I looked at that I kind of wish I tried, but I wasn't there long enough to try them out.
Sure.
Yeah, I always like that room because whoever curates what goes in there clearly knows their shit.
Knows what their anime fans want.
Well, that and they also tend to have some really like deep cuts in the terms of shmups. They usually have some like really rare stuff. Or they have some really great stuff that's hard to get a hold of, and you could go there and find like cave boards on a CRT and play like some Dangun Fever Run or something like that.
Yeah, I wanted to play games, but I also figured that's what I go to MagFest for.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's interesting because like I do enjoy Otakon, but it's become more of a routine that I go with people more so than because I really am dying to go to it.
Yeah, that's how it's been with me for the past few years, honestly. Like I mainly go there for the next year it's in like DC.
Because in DC, and it's not because it's farther or closer or whatever that we're not going to go, but personally for me, I'd like to go if it was still. I would go again if it didn't move. It's more because they're going to a new location and they probably will still have kinks to work out. So I don't necessarily want to be there the first year.
They'll probably mess it up. Yeah.
I can believe that.
So we can get a free hour in the ball pit, guys.
Yeah, great. No,
if
but
we go again, it probably wouldn't be for another year or two.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I felt about Otakon myself. Like it's become more of a thing where, all of us get together for a weekend, and that's fun. But like as far as Otakon goes, I'm in it for the dealer's room, but it's mostly an anime dealer room. Like, I'm more interested in video games than anime. Like, anime, there's a chance, like, once every 2 or 3 years I'll buy one thing anime related. It's
and
very
the other
rare.
thing that I found out more today this weekend when I was in the dealer's room, so I guess it was today because it's still Sunday, but was the fact that a lot of the things that they have in the dealer's room, because the economy is the way it is now, you can find it for the same price or maybe even cheaper online. So you're really going and buying stuff there more because you want it right then, and if you wanted to get something.
Yeah, and there's the novelty of getting it at a con.
Obviously, there are things you can't get outside of the dealer's room.
Yeah, that used to be the big draw for me.
A lot of things you can just get online.
That used to be the big draw for me. Like, there used to be stuff that there's no way I could get it. Like, it would be really difficult for me to get the certain things that I found. Like, in particular, I like Dojin games. You know, like crazy. I actually got Crazy Power Disc, the original version, from a dealer in there.
And they do not have an online presence,
which is ridiculous. Like, I don't even understand that, but they're like literally the only people that sell these games, because Dojin games are like sold at like comic book conventions in Japan, and that's how you get them. You know?
They have a whole scene.
Yeah, but and you most likely can't download them anywhere, because Japan doesn't even have like a good distribution for that kind of thing. So like they, it's not like they have a Steam or something like that. They're getting better about that kind of stuff, but by and large, you just buy the physical disc and that's it.
Yep.
And you buy it at their table. Like, it's very old school over there in that regard, and which is funny from a technologically advanced society in general. They do a lot of things via fax too, which is weird.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. But so the only way for me, nobody's selling this, these Dojin games on American eBay. Like, so like, how am I supposed to get this? Like Crazy Power Disc Perfect, I had to pay like basically $80 to get it, and have it like shipped through a courier service, and all this other jazz. And I had to get it from a Japanese website that only shipped to Japan, so it's just kind of nuts. But that's the kind of stuff that I used to go there for. A lot of the Falcom games before they got wide releases on Steam, and Pyro, you're into those as well.
Yep.
That was the only way to get like Ys Origin or Ys Othenfelgana when they only had fan patches.
And now they're on Steam, so
amazing.
You don't need to do that kind of thing anymore. And even the Toho games are starting to get official releases.
Yeah.
In English, there's one coming out pretty soon. So hopefully more will be released over time. I'm sure they will be. But I used to get stuff like that there, or I used to buy in bulk. Like when I was really into JoJo, and they didn't really have the first two parts.
No, yeah, they did. That was a pretty recent development.
Yeah, they only had the third part in English, and
it was out of print.
Yeah, that was barely done. I had actually followed that really closely, so I was able to get all of those as they came out, so I didn't get screwed on that one.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to have parts 1 through 2, 1 and 2 in some physical form because I loved it so much. I had read the fan subs.
Yeah, so you bought them in Japanese.
So I bought them in Japanese. I actually bought the little volumes in Japanese, and I bought was it like something like 20 volumes, and I got a discount for doing that.
Yeah.
So
the guy was cool about it.
That's the kind of thing I used to do, but now and you used to get like 20% off DVDs when like Sam Goody and FYE were like the only place you could buy them, and they were expensive. But now you could go to something like Amazon or Right Stuff, and you could get the cheapest price imaginable.
Yeah.
The price thing is not really a draw anymore, and you can also find it easier. And the only thing I really, really like now is the Artist Alley, because there's some really talented people there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I was saying, the dealer's room was the draw, but I'm more into the video game stuff than the anime, and there are like 3 or 4 video game booths. I check them, and then that was that.
Yep.
I'm personally not into the artist's alley. Like, I'll go there once to just take a look at stuff and be like, oh, cool art, but I never buy anything at the artist alley.
Yeah, I don't either. This is my first year that I actually went to the artist alley at Otakon and checked it out, and there are some really cool things that I looked around. I'm the same way, where I went there once, but I think I might be going more often just to see what is there. Like, I don't think I would buy anything.
That's the whole thing.
Need posters. I don't need.
Yeah.
But if they sell like little tchotchkes, maybe I'd pick something up. But there are some really neat things to see there. The other reason why I wouldn't buy anything is they never have Transformers stuff in the artist alley, so I'm sad.
Well, they wouldn't. That would be in the dealer's room if they had it at all, and I don't think they do.
Like in the artist alley, people drawing pictures of Transformers.
Oh, okay.
And that's a shame because those originated from Japanese series, you know?
Yes and no. They actually originated in the U.S.
Oh, I thought they came from like
Kinda.
3 or 4 toy lines in Japan.
It's weird. So yeah, they did, but in the same the idea the base ideas came from Japan, but the Transformers as we know it is like a kind of completely original American thing.
Okay, gotcha.
And so so the artist alley, there's that. Like, I'm not gonna buy anything there anyway. Panels, I'm almost never interested in what the panels are. Maybe like one thing per year or something.
I kind of like it when they have like cringeworthy stuff, like like the worst animes you've ever seen.
Those can be good, but like that'll be like the one thing I go to that year. I don't go to the panels in a general sense. And my main draw to Otakon is probably taking pictures of cosplayers, because there's like about 1 billion of them, and usually there's cool stuff I like. But we get older, and the age that people cosplay at is generally the same. So like with each passing year, it kind of starts to get to a point where it's like creepy to ask people to take their pictures. So it's like, maybe I better stop doing this.
Yeah, I you know what, I forgot about this. We went to a kaiju panel one time, and that was really cool, and that told us about like good kaiju movies.
Well, yeah, again, there are good panels, but like I don't quote go to the panels. Like, there's going to be like probably one thing that I'm interested in, 1 or 2 things that one of you will ask me if I want to go with you to, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, and I'll have an alright time. But like, I don't generally care about the panels, and they have 1 million of them.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's a good premiere of a movie. So I really liked going to see the Trigun movie that came out a couple of years ago. That was really cool.
2011, I think it was.
Yeah, it was way back.
Yeah. Well, it's recent-ish for me.
Yeah.
In terms of anime, just to give you an idea, the last anime thing that I bought Evangelion, the 3rd movie, because it finally got released this year. But before that, the latest thing that I bought was Gurren Lagann. And I absolutely love that. I think I got Red Line in there somewhere too.
Red Line.
But the other than those 3 things in the last like 5 years, I don't have anything.
Yeah,
so
the last thing I bought anime wise was Gankotsuo, or The Count of Monte Cristo, and I got that like 2 or 3 years ago, and like at least at Otakon, I bought the Berserk OVAs. But the next anime I buy, whenever the hell it finally comes out, I probably actually will buy the Legend of the Galactic Heroes series, because it is just that good. It's fantastic. I think
Discotek's releasing that.
They announced it in like July or something, and then there's just been like dead what's the word for it, radio silence. Yeah, for like since that point, it's like
dead in the water.
No, radio silence.
Dead air, I think he was going for.
Dead air also works, but I mean radio silence, and that just nobody said anything. It's just like, okay.
They're kind of like that, though.
Yeah, it's like, we're going to make it. Cool, when?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
They're actually one of the coolest anime distributors. They go after a lot of really old stuff, and they do a really good job of remastering, because when we originally got a lot of that old stuff, it got all chopped up and dubbed and shot to hell. They remaster it. Like I got their set of Lupin the Third for the first series of Lupin the Third, and it's awesome. I also got Captain Harlock.
Captain Harlock is fantastic.
Yeah,
one of my friends showed me I think either almost or actually everything there is to see regarding Captain Harlock, including some of the OVAs.
Yeah, there's some really, really good stuff that they put out. I tend to like 70s and 80s anime quite a bit, by and large. I don't know why I like it, because like it's not like I'm nostalgic for it.
Yeah, we're 90s anime people and like early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, if I was being nostalgic, I'd be like,
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop's great on its own, but because of...
But you would be nostalgic for it.
Well, I would be nostalgic for it, and I probably am, but it's still a great thing.
No, it is legitimately great, but I'm saying, like, that's what you would call back to, is like stuff that you saw when you were young.
I would call back to stuff like Dragon Ball Z, but like I would rather watch the original Macross than Dragon Ball Z at this point.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z was cool when it aired. Like, that's not a series I'd really want to go back to.
It just has it actively wastes your time.
Yeah,
which is what I hate about it.
Really, the only anime I truly watch right now is the Gundam animes when they come out, and I mean the Danganronpa one I'm gonna try to watch when I get a chance. Other than that, it's just when whatever my girlfriend recommends me I watch, I might check it out. But other than that, the only thing that I really am into anime wise is Gundam.
Yeah, for me, it's what Mr. Ryu recommends to me, and I'll watch One Piece.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Lupin.
I do want to watch those, actually, the Lupin movies.
Those are really cool, and watch the TV show too. The TV show is quite good. They had a series based on Fujiko, from Fujiko's perspective, and that was really good. And then I watched a series by the same director after that. I forget what it's called, but that's really good too. That one's kind of like a road story, like people are on the road and things happen to them. I just forget what it's called.
The Canterbury Tales.
Yeah. No, it's more like...
well, no, that was them telling stories on the road.
Yeah, no. They were on a pilgrimage, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, in that one. Yeah. So, anyway... there's just some... I just tend to like the older ones. Maybe it's just the... I can't even say it's the simplicity of it. Maybe it's just like... It's less tropey.
Well, actually, well, no. What I think is that maybe I'm totally off on this. Correct me, somebody. But I think it also might be less corporate. It's like, here's my story. I'm gonna make the characters move instead of having you read them. Done.
I think you're both right and wrong.
Now there's like filler and like tropes and everything.
I think there were tropes and they were corporate when we watched it, but it was less obvious than it is now. That might be what it is. Like when we started watching it, we didn't notice those things because, one, we were younger, two, we didn't watch a lot of it by then. But now we've seen more things come out throughout the years that and we're older, so we know about these things more, so it's just more obvious that it's happening.
Yeah, and it's boring because of it, you know, like every single one, it's just like, oh, well, this is definitely going to be the girl he falls in love with, you know? It's like, oh, here he's late for school and he's got a piece of toast in his mouth, and he's going to fall in the girl's crotch.
Like, that's one thing I like. That's one thing I liked about Hokuto no Ken is, like, you had no idea where it was going.
Yeah,
and like you'd think you would, with how simplistic the first bunch of episodes are. You'd think every episode's gonna be the same, but you'd be surprised.
Discotheque is actually the ones who released the entirety of that series finally in English.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, they do God's work, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, we actually are going to probably end this one here because we have some big things coming up in our personal lives. But once again, folks, I really wanted to thank you for your support thus far. You guys have given us really good advice. You also have given us some great questions. Keep up with the questions. We definitely want questions on SoundCloud, on the iTunes store, and also Lotus's page there.
Yeah, on YouTube.
I do want to give a quick update on the status of what I am trying to do with Corrective Consciousness. I just got my own professional microphone here. I got a Blue
Yeti
Yeti Pro, and I finally can take good audio here, and I even got a pop card, so I can pop all I want.
And we'll never even know. And once you pop, the fun don't stop.
I also am getting an Elgato 60S, so I can start doing some streaming.
You can do your own Let's Plays.
Yeah, I want to do some LPs, and I want to do some...
Finally, you can be released from the burden that is me.
And I also want to do some streaming as well. So
yeah, I would like to do that at some point myself.
All of those things I wanted to do, and that's on its way, and also a hard drive to go with it. But this is the big one. I wanted to do some Sonic the Hedgehog LPs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
those are fantastic games. Like, I can't speak for a lot of the new ones. I only really played up to like Adventure 2, and I liked Adventure 1 and 2, but the old Sonic games are awesome. Well, the old numbered ones.
I wanted to go through all the 16-bit ones first, and I wanted to play specific versions because there's some really good versions out there of them. But it just turns out that the iOS versions of 1 and 2 are the best versions of Sonic 1 and 2. So I had to get extra equipment to play them on a screen. I had to get the AV out for my iPod. My tiny little iPod can do AV out, which is fantastic. And it still looks good on the screens. And I also got a controller so I can actually play the damn game.
Yeah, because you're not playing Sonic the Hedgehog with your freaking fingers on a screen. Get out of here.
Yeah, so I got a... it's terrible, by the way. I tried playing it. It's, I can't do it. I couldn't even, get the rings that I wanted just because, it was so inaccurate.
Yeah.
So I got a Hori pad for iPod. So I'll be playing 1 and 2 just like that, and I'll explain why they're the best versions during my LPs. So I wanted to let you guys know that we are actively working on this as a even larger project than the podcast. The podcast was just the first part, and we are also working on the website. So we will not have a grand opening for a little while. But all three of us have keys to the website, so we're gonna work on that eventually as well.
Yep.
Sounds cool.
So until next week, guys.
And then we're gonna get bought out by a big company, and we're gonna become millionaires, and
we're gonna sell out and be corporate sponsors. Also, read all kinds of annoying ads about Stamps.com and MeUndies.
Yes.
While we're at it, yeah.
Beautiful.
And Dollar Shave Club. Yeah. So anyway, until next time, guys, we'll catch you next Tuesday.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.